Breaking right now, desperate Meghan Markle has flown back to Los Angeles to try and rework her Netflix show with Love Meghan to, wait for it, include the charity work that she undertook over the course of the LA wildfires, despite her being labelled a disaster tourist for these types of despicable acts where she was literally walking over the embers of homes where their owners didn't even know if the building had survived, where they didn't know if their pets, or in some cases their humans, were lying dead under the surface. But so desperate is Ms. Markle to try and salvage this production, which, remember, received more negative reviews than any other Netflix series on social media in history. She has to try and find a way to claw it back. Royally Sage posted on this. She is adding the fires and her illegally walking on someone's house ruins to the show. She is toast. The disaster tourist label is going to stick forever. From according to Taz, wow, just wow. Utterly tone deaf. Meghan is changing her Netflix show about how to be the perfect hostess to include her work during LA wildfires. She is going to continue to use other people's tragedies to try and make herself look better. Let me bring Angela Levin in now, our royal mastermind, the biographer of Queen Camilla and Prince Harry. Angela Levin, look, I know she's desperate. I know she had to do something with this show, but to be so tone deaf after the way that the entire entertainment establishment turned on her for that truly grim behavior after the LA wildfires feels like yet another disastrous misstep. Am I missing something here?
No, I think you're absolutely right. But Netflix were trying very, very hard not to do that. They wanted to alter it, obviously, because it had such a bad, people couldn't stand it. It was so stupid and boring and awful. And they wanted to do something slightly different, but more in the kitchen. But she won't do that, and is exactly saying that she is using other people's nightmare as a way of showing how wonderful she is. I mean, she can't see that that's absolutely an appalling thing to do. And if you say, look, you never show your children to anybody, you keep them, hide them because you're protecting them. So do you think you should stand with other people who've had the most horrific experience with these fires, lost absolutely everything? Make sure you're in the middle, make sure you're smiling, and leave them to show that this is how you help them because they're standing round you. I mean, it's absolutely awful. And this young woman as well, who she wanted to help her sell these things, and that she'd be really, really pleased that a woman like Meghan spoke to her. But I think she's going ahead with this. That's why she's one of the reasons she wasn't too upset to rush back, that she would show people how amazing she'd been and helping with this catastrophe, and that she would feel that it's all okay. But people don't want her to do that. They don't want to see Meghan being a sort of queen and looking over everybody's desperation. I don't. It's so difficult to understand how you can think like that. Even that after that somebody has several people have said at the time, go away, you're not welcome here, we don't want you here. And the people who own these houses that have been burnt to shriveled up, they weren't allowed to, but Meghan somehow got her own way to go there. And now she's got loads and loads of pictures, so she's forever doing that now. And that's what she wants. I mean, she's given some people some apples. Oh my goodness, big deal.
It's fair to wonder, does Meghan Markle truly grasp the optics of her new Netflix series? Reports suggest it will feature her journeying through disaster-stricken areas, places of poverty, tragedy, and devastation, all captured for global streaming. Many are already labeling it disaster tourism.
I know it's so shocking to me, though, that Netflix would allow this to happen. I can't get my head around it. I mean, this source to the Daily Mail is worth reading. It says, it is understood the show has been edited to include Meghan's philanthropic work around the fires, which included visiting victims in Altadena, California. Well, the Altadena, California moment was the thing that absolutely sparked the fury of the actress Justine Bateman, meant that the show TMZ, which had always been on Harry and Meghan's side, absolutely roasted them because it was just so terrible. And it's like, what planet are these guys on? The best thing they could possibly do is try to move on. And of course, at the Invictus Games, Angela, you could argue that is what they did. There was no mention of Los Angeles or California for the entire week. Not one word, Angela. Even when Meghan got up on stage on opening night, she did not reference the fires or the horror in California at all. So
Yeah, or
don't
maybe
try and tell me
it's-
that this is something that's dominated her life. She didn't even mention it all week in Canada.
Well, what we've seen with Meghan, I think, over the years is that something dreadful can happen, but she won't actually do anything about it. She hides for a little while, and then comes out as if nothing's happened. Because every time she's criticized, she hates it, but she disappears and then comes up and does exactly what she wants to do, or she might do something else, but she won't actually look back and say, gosh, I'm so sorry, everyone. It was a blunder. I don't know what came over me. I desperately wanted to do something and it all went wrong. Please forgive me. Then you think, well, at least she's doing that. But it's not. She's starting a new page. She's starting again. I think that's one of the reasons why people leave, because she keeps changing her mind what she's doing, who she is. And difficult for Harry as well. Sometimes she's all over him. Sometimes she's giving him a most terrible look of a devil, and to get used to this must be almost impossible. But she gets used to it for herself. She just changes. That's happened. She's been highly criticized. Never mind. Close the door. Let's start again. And doing things that, Netflix knows best, I think, don't they? They should have said, we can't do that because it's not going to work. It will make you more enemies than friends. But she feels she knows best. So that's what she's going to have. And I think maybe this is the last time that they will be making a documentary with Netflix. A lot of them are fed up with her. And maybe they just decide, well, let her make it even worse for her. But, we're not going to keep on and on arguing with her because we'll never get anywhere. She does win arguments, but they then come back and whack her, don't they?
Yeah, I just think it's a mess. I think it is an absolute mess. I think she is utterly shameless and tone deaf. But I also just think Netflix and the producers are completely grim. There was another really embarrassing moment, Angela, which is worth taking a look at. This was, Sky News Australia quite rightly describes it as the awkward moment that Prince Harry refused to sign a copy of Spare.
Yes.
It was, I think, sort of an acquaintance or someone who he knew in the past who wanted the book signed. Now, he is clearly so embarrassed about the book now, as he should be, but look at how, I guess, strangely he tries to fob the man off. And of course, Angela, totally impossible for him to find him later.
Yes, well, that's why I told him that, isn't it? But it was very interesting that he felt ashamed of Spare, his book. He's looking back on it and he thought, if he signed that in front of loads of people watching, he's going to be in for, a lot of nasty comment. So he just said, not now, not now, not now. Find me later. But he'll hide away. I won't give him a chance because he doesn't want to be seen doing that. And I think, well, actually, that's the first thing for a long time we've seen where he's really done the right thing, not stand there and say, lots of love from Harry. Hope your family is better than mine.
I know, but what's so funny, Angela, is it's like It's too late. It's like just because he didn't promote the paperback edition of
Yeah.
Spare, he thinks that all of a sudden he can just wash his hands of what he said in it. He doesn't understand, Angela, that Spare changed everything. It changed everything for his father. It changed everything for his brother. It changed everything for Catherine, everything for Camilla. So it's like, you can run away from it now, mate, as much as you want. But unfortunately, that book will haunt you. It will haunt you until the end of your days.
This isn't humanitarian aid. It's high-gloss PR built on the back of suffering. As one insider bluntly put it, it's utterly tone-deaf, and they're absolutely right. The core issue here isn't new. Celebrities have, unfortunately, a track record of parachuting into disaster zones, often for what appears to be little more than a photo opportunity. But Meghan Markle was supposed to be different. She built her entire brand on empathy, feminism, and global compassion.
Angela, more from this tell-all royal book, Yes, Ma'am, by Tom Quinn. Now, this is told from the perspective of former servants within the royal family. And there has been some brutal revelations about Prince Harry from the former staff members. So let me just take you through this, Angela, and then I'll get your reaction because, of course, you were Harry's biographer. You spent all of that time with him when he was in the royal family, so you can explain whether this is unfair or not. But the book writes that Harry's former servant dubbed him probably the most muddled of all the royals of his generation, and said those working for him would compare him to the famous Blackadder Prince character. So, speaking anonymously, of course, to this book, Yes, Ma'am, The Secret Life of Royal Servants, the staff member or the courtier said, I remember once in his private apartments, I'd muddle something, some of his papers on his desk or something. He was immediately angry and it was out of proportion to the problem, or at least I thought it was. The source added that other staff had experienced similar incidents and even used to quip about the royal's temperament. We thought it was a bit rich, complaining about me being muddled, given that Harry was probably the most muddled of all the royals of his generation. The joke used to be that Harry was very much like the Prince Regent in the Blackadder television series. People used to say that without a servant, Harry would take 2 weeks to put his own trousers on. And of course, that is reference to that character, Angela, where it did take him a whole week to put on a pair of trousers. And even then, he ended up with them on his head. The staff members did say, Angela, though, that Harry's vulnerability gave him a certain sensitivity and charm, but that, like his brother William and his father Charles, he was prone to flashes of irritation. What do you make of this characterization of Prince Harry?
Well, I don't believe it, actually, when I was talking to him. But I do believe that he does get very irritable. That is true. And I remember getting to the palace on one day, and the aide said to me, can you wait a little bit? He's in a really irritated mood, and we'll just wait for him to calm down a bit. Yeah, fine, of course. And then by the time he saw me, he'd calmed down. I don't think he did that for me. I'm not saying that, but he just was very angry. And another time, he didn't like sometimes to get up before 12 o'clock, if he had an engagement to do, because he'd obviously not got to bed till 5 or 6 in the morning. He has been very open about that. And so that was what he was like. But I never found him unable to do his trousers up. And I think that a lot of the time in his late teenage years, that he really wanted to do good. And once he was out and arrived at another place, where there were children who were with poor families and people who had been in the war and were damaged in one way, he was absolutely brilliant. I have to say that. He would talk to them and reach things that people would take a long time to get out of these people who were so upset. And I'd go up to some of them afterwards and say, how was it? And several of them would say, he's given me a feeling that I want to live. He's amazing. He made me feel that I will be okay. Now, that's a huge thing to say when you spend about 5 minutes from someone. So he wasn't like that. He wasn't stupid. He wasn't like some sort of clown. I think the change of him has happened since he was with Meghan. And I think that, he was a very useful member of the royal family. He just was, what he hated was actually being in a meeting. He was wonderful with individuals, but a lot of the charities, they saved their time so that they'd all sit round in a circle, the meeting, and his one leg would go up and down on the floor, because he couldn't stand it. It was much too boring. But get him to go out and run or to talk to somebody, boys, men, anyone, all sorts. He was brilliant at that.
This isn't aid. It's aesthetic activism, and the reaction has been fierce. Social media exploded, calling it a new low. For once, even some of Meghan and Harry's staunchest supporters are silent, because it's clear this isn't about helping people. It's about propping up brand Sussex. They desperately need a win after the Spotify fallout, a cooling Netflix relationship, and dipping public support. But this isn't the way to bounce back. Let's not forget Netflix already bet $100 million on Harry and Meghan. Their initial projects saw moderate success, but there's been little of substance since.
Yes, he was, in some ways. I guess I do understand that, Angela. Now, big news from the Daily Mirror. King Charles and Queen Camilla are expected to head to both America and Canada next year on their biggest royal tour yet, and will be deployed to help with diplomatic relations with Donald Trump. Now, this has been potentially planned to coincide with the 250th anniversary of American independence. Sources close to the planning say discussion between the governments have already begun. The Mirror understands that both North American tours will be agreed for the first half of next year, most likely the spring. In line with the King's continued cancer treatment, a US visit by the Prince and Princess of Wales has been earmarked as a contingency, although it is the preference to host their Majesties, sources said. It will be the first time a British monarch has visited the United States since 2007, the last of 5 royal tours the late Queen Elizabeth II undertook. Angela, what do you make of this? I mean, clearly the Trump administration has real issues with our government. I mean, we've heard J.D. Vance absolutely slamming the UK today. So potentially the soft power from King Charles is going to be utterly critical.
Yes, I think that my feeling is that to book 2 years ahead, a year ahead, it's very difficult. And I think that you can make all these arrangements, and I don't take them very seriously until much closer. I don't mean that because of the cancer or anything, but a couple who are in their late 70s, anything can happen. So I think you can make a nice idea sorted out, but actually you need to wait till you're much closer and see how you are. So I'm quite surprised that they're already talking about this. I don't know if they would try and see Harry. I doubt it, actually, because the last thing they want is to be attacked, and Harry wouldn't want to see Camilla at all. And I think Charles has made Prince Andrew ready to talk to Trump so that he doesn't have to, because they don't agree with everything politically or a load of different things. So that is helpful. But I think jumping ahead and making too many arrangements is a strange thing to do at this stage.
Yeah, indeed. Angela, I also really want to talk about Catherine, the Princess of Wales, because
Yes.
I know you're very passionate, given your past, about this visit that she made to a women's prison this week.
Yeah. Yes. I worked from prison in 10 years. I was a volunteer to make sure that people there were treated properly. And I had the keys very rarely. I had the keys, I had them for 24/7. I could go in at any time to check that they were being treated properly. I also spent some time at women's prisons, and that is much, much more frightening and more difficult than men's, actually. It's very difficult because they are very aggressive. And apparently, yes, at the moment, women are way ahead at violence in prisons than men prisons. And they are violent together, they are self-harm, and they're very difficult. So for Catherine to go in so calm and talk to them, I thought was absolutely not just brave, but extraordinary, that this is what she wanted to do. And I think that's very interesting, because after she's now got she's now feeling better. She's a changed woman. Her colour of her clothes have changed, and that she says something in that, and also that she wants to really make an impact and talk about women and their babies in special places where they have them in the women's hospital, and to try and help them. And there were some women she spoke to who couldn't get into the conversation. I mean, it's not easy to talk to Princess, even if you are, very confident of yourself. And she was very gentle, and one by one she talked to them, and they all started talking to her. And you see this amazing ability to talk to people and make them feel they want to discuss things with her, and to like her. So I'm full of praise for that. It's not easy, and you risk something, because some of the people who are in prison, I'm sure that they were careful who she saw, but some of them will just blow up and just get very, very angry. Or if you say something that they don't like, they burst with anger, and it can be very dangerous. I just hope she had people going around with her, but she obviously didn't need it. But I thought it was an extraordinary thing for her to do.
For many of Meghan's critics, this latest project is the final straw. She's toast, one royal expert bluntly put it. And honestly, after this, it's increasingly difficult to disagree. When your relevance depends on filming yourself amidst suffering, it suggests a fundamental fracture in your brand. Compassion is not, and should never be, a content strategy. The public, it seems, is finally seeing through the performance. What's your take on Meghan Markle's Netflix project? Is this a genuine humanitarian effort, or simply exploitation for views? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more unfiltered royal analysis.